This is the noon news from Montana's news leader.
Good afternoon. We're glad you could join us to end your week. I'm Aja Goare. Our top story today, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un responded to new sanctions with a personal attack against President Trump. The foreign leader says he will tame President Trump with fire. CBS's Mola Langi reports.
North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un is lashing out against President Trump for his speech to the UN General Assembly this week. In a personal statement, Kim slammed what he called the mentally deranged behavior of the U.S. president, and he said he would make Mr. Trump pay dearly for his speech calling for totally destroying the DPRK. President Trump responded on Twitter this morning saying Kim Jong-un of North Korea, who is obviously a madman who doesn't mind starving or killing his people, will be tested like never before. North Korea's foreign minister also raised the level of tension.
Our chairman of the State Affairs Commission has a decision to conduct strongest ever hydrogen bomb test in the Pacific Ocean.
Secretary of State Rex Tillerson was asked on Good Morning America how the U.S. would respond if that happened.
We will continue our efforts in the diplomatic arena, but all of our military options, as the president has said, is on the table. And once we can assess the nature of this threat, the president will make a decision regarding the appropriate actions.
Thursday, President Trump issued a new executive order that gives the world an ultimatum. You can do business with North Korea or you can do business with the United States, but not both.
It is unacceptable that others financially support this criminal rogue regime.
The order cuts off access to U.S. banks and freezes the assets of those dealing with North Korean textiles, fishing, and manufacturing industries. Mola Langi, CBS News, the White House.
The U.S. and previous United Nations sanctions are meant to stop North Korea from developing its nuclear weapons program. But Kim Jong-un said in his statement that President Trump's UN speech convinced him not to end the North's weapons program. Here in Montana, the lame deer man hospitalized after an assault on Sunday has died. The FBI identified the victim today as 30-year-old Ozzie Lee Wilson. Wilson was injured Sunday morning at a residence in Lame Deer. One man is in the custody of the BIA Northern Cheyenne Police. That suspect's name has not been released and no charges have been filed. A bar fight in Billings early this morning ended with one man's arrest and a security guard being stabbed. It happened around 2 a.m. at Daisy Duke's on Broadway. Police say the male suspect punched a female patron at the bar. The security guard attempted to break up the disturbance and the suspect stabbed him in the leg. The suspect was eventually arrested and faces 2 assault charges. The woman suffered minor injuries. The guard was hospitalized with a serious leg injury. Police lights and crime tape are just part of the landscape for one Missoula neighborhood that's growing weary of not only the danger, but the stigma of violent crimes. After the murders of 2 people there this summer, residents are reclaiming their neighborhood. MTN's Jill Valley reports.
The house is boarded up. No trespassing signs are everywhere. The house where 2 young people were not only murdered, but dismembered. A scene so horrible, Missoula law enforcement offered counseling to those officers who had to respond. Neighbors say it was the 3rd major crime of the year, but it's time to come together as neighbors and fight back.
We wanted to do something to connect everybody and to make it feel okay again, you know, instead of having just cop cars coming down the roads. We see each other's faces and are able to see each other kind of as human beings.
This weekend, residents who live around Strand and Kensington, all around this central Missoula neighborhood, will gather for a block party. It's to reconnect as neighbors, to reclaim their neighborhood, to make each other feel safer. The Saturday gathering isn't just about meeting the neighbors. Members of Missoula Police Department will be there to talk about the Strand Avenue murder and other crimes. They'll teach self-defense moves and how to identify a crime in progress. It comes at a time when some are worried about this area's future, as this woman told us this summer.
You can walk or drive down the street and see needles just everywhere. My daughter went to Franklin Park the other day and there was a needle in the park.
It is not a bad neighborhood. It's a place where something bad happened. An old Missoula neighborhood with history, where good people will stand up to crime.
There's always a positive to knowing the people that you live by, and there's always a positive to making connections. So I'm hoping that in the long run it'll just, and you know, this neighborhood will embrace each other a little bit more.
In Missoula, Jill Valley, MTN News.
Thank you, Jill. And the block party is this Saturday from 5 to 7 p.m. around the 1900 block of Kensington. Here's an update and a thank you to everyone who has generously donated to the Montana Wildfire Relief Fund. Montana Television Network's fund has received 614 donations, bringing the total up to $105,000. Add $50,000 matching donations from our parent company and the Mountain Sky Guest Ranch. It will push the total raised to more than $200,000. Now be sure to tune in this Saturday for a special report on the 2017 Montana's wildfire season. We'll take a closer look at this summer's fire headlines across the state and tell you how you can help communities impacted by the devastating fires. The Montana Wildfire Relief Special airs Saturday at 6 p.m. We transition now to weather where, Rob, there's really no transition in seasons here anymore, is there? We go from fire season directly to snow.
Yeah, I'm calling it the summer snowstorm across Montana because fall doesn't begin for another couple of hours across much of Montana. Somebody forgot to tell the weather forecasters that, I guess. We have some video I want to show you from Helena. The first day of fall feels a little more like winter in the state capital. Snow reached parts of the valley floor in Helena. Mixture of snow and rain pelted folks who were walking through neighborhoods, and in some places it came down even a little bit heavier. So although it's not sticking to the ground and accumulating, definitely we've got snow in the area. You can see across the state and region right now, snow showers heavily falling in portions of western Montana. So we'll talk about how long that snow is going to stick around, what's in store for next week with the forecast in just a bit. Asia?
Thanks, Rob. We'll check back in. Montana leaders are asking for more time to comply with the Real ID Act. Montana's Law and Justice Interim Committee received an update Thursday on the state's plan to meet the requirements of the federal program. Lawmakers recently passed a bill giving residents the choice to get a driver's license that meets Real ID requirements. MVD plans to implement that program by the start of 2019. Montana received a waiver from Real ID requirements through October 10th.
I don't see Montana having an issue that other states have because we just started our implementation. We just were authorized to enact Real ID, whereas other states that may get shorter extensions have actually been working on it for a number of years already.
Once the requirements take effect, the federal government won't accept current Montana's driver's licenses as identification at airports or federal facilities. People who don't get a Real ID compliant license will have to use passports or other forms of ID. Cleanup at Superfund sites across the country are at a standstill, including the one in Butte. The news coming from an internal report from the Environmental Protection Agency in D.C. The project involved capping mine waste sites on the Butte Hill to prevent contaminated rainwater from running into Silverbow Creek. The EPA's response to the report says EPA Administrator Scott Pruitt is making Superfund a priority through his Superfund task force. It's designed to fully utilize the expertise of EPA staff in order to clean up Superfund sites across the U.S. and protect human health along with the environment. John Seso, Butte Superfund coordinator, questions how this can be accomplished, though, considering recent budget cuts to the EPA.
We need to clean up the hill a little bit better. We got to take care of the Blacktail Creek, which is really our prize stream running through our community. And then we move on with taking care of ourselves for the rest of time. We've got the resources in the bank to do that. We just got to move forward with these final decisions and get on with the future of our community.
Meanwhile, after years of cleanup on Libby's asbestos, the focus is shifting to the future. Contamination stems from decades of vermiculite mining at the W.R. Grace mine, which closed almost 30 years ago. The company eventually agreed to a multi-million-dollar settlement to help the EPA with cleanup costs. Asbestos removal at local homes and businesses has been underway for years. But now the Libby Asbestos Superfund Advisory Committee, authorized last spring, met for the first time this week. That panel will manage ongoing efforts to address future contamination discoveries. EPA aims to complete cleanup on the remaining 200 properties on its list by early 2018. There's still no firm plan on how to address the mine site outside town. Still to come on the new news, Hurricane Maria moves in on a popular tourist island. Details on that storm next. But first, Rob has our cold winter weather forecast. Details coming up.
You're watching